Let's have a look at how we can use the user interface. On the left-hand side here, I have got my toolbar. Up the top, I've got my menus. On the right-hand side, I've got palettes. You can also find things hidden in hamburgers, arrows that look like that, as well as dots. The reason why I've got an asterisk here on the toolbar is because you can have advanced features that are not found in here. To access them, you click on the window menu, toolbars, and advanced. Typically, you won't really need them, however, know that they are there. Back in the window menu, this is where we can find our palettes. So the palettes here on the right-hand side come from this section over here. From time to time, you'll access things in the right-click menu over here. These are kind of like shortcuts that Illustrator thinks that you might find useful. Lastly, there are preferences that we can change here in Illustrator. Control K or Command K brings up my preferences. On a PC, your preference is going to be found in here. On a Mac, they are found in this section, and I do have my keyboard shortcut over there. Now, I've already changed these things for me. However, by default, the general is set to points. However, we do use millimeters and it's accurate, so I suggest changing that. Performance-wise, you want to make sure that you change it from the default undo counts from 50 to 200. Let's tie this all together. This may look intimidating, but we're going to go through each one of them. To select an object, you simply click it. To move it, over here, you use the selection tool, and it's the black arrow in the tools. Now I can move that wherever I want. If I want to have more objects, I can either click my first object, then hold Shift, and then select others. So holding down Shift, clicking, 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 and then now I can let go of Shift. Now I've got a selection, or I can click and drag over several objects to then select them. To edit parts of an object, you press the white arrow, which is the direct select tool, or keyboard shortcut A. A shape like this is made up of anchor points and paths. The anchor points are these things in bold, and I can click on any one of them, or I can select multiples of them and move them around. I can also use the path, and I can move the path as well. To resize objects, you've got to hold the Shift button. Typically, when people resize text, they kind of scale it down or scale it up, and the font loses all integrity of what the designer wanted it to look like, and that is disgusting. So you've got to hold Shift when you are resizing. To undo, you press Control Z or Command Z. To redo, Control Shift Z or Command Shift Z. Zooming in is Control plus, Control minus is to zoom out. I've got the relevant ones here on my Mac. Illustrator is a vector-based program, so you can work out in all these areas over here. Let's zero in on this page, Command 0. To move around the artboard, it's a two-finger swipe on your trackpad or two-finger swipe on your touch screen, or I can hold down the spacebar. The spacebar temporarily transform whatever tool I'm on. So let's say I'm on the pen tool. If I hold down the spacebar, it changes it temporarily to the hand tool, or I can press the letter H and it does the same thing. To stop the current tool, or sometimes to exit out of things, you press the escape button. Now this doesn't always work, like I just pressed escape before and it's still on the hand tool. That's not what I want, but there is something called isolation mode. The escape button is how you exit. To hide the interface, you press the tab button. To show it, you press tab again. Now, some people have quit the application because they didn't know how to get the toolbars back. This is the way that you get it back. To group objects, it is Control G or Command G. So if I select all of these, I can go up to the object menu and group, and here I have group command. Now if I select that, I can see it. By deselecting, I've just got to click anywhere off my object. So I'm going to click over here, done. To ungroup an object, it is Command Shift G on a Mac or Control Shift G, or you can go to the object menu and it is ungroup. And now I've got access to these things again. To lock an object, you press Control 2 or Command 2, and sometimes that's what you want. If I wanted to get to this other section over here and I tried to select it, got two things selected. A good way to do it, or one of the ways, is you could just lock it or freeze it. So I'm going to press Command 2, or you can find that under the object menu, lock selection, and now I can grab that and move it wherever I want. Now that that's out of the way, I'm going to show you isolation mode. Isolation mode is a mode where you double click on here, move that to over this side, press escape, and now I exit. I didn't have to ungroup it. It's still a group. To edit, I simply just double clicked it and then I moved things around. The last thing I want to show you is based on what I said earlier about things being hidden under hamburgers, arrows, and dots. Clicking on the arrow collapses my view. Clicking on the dots shows me the actual palette. And sometimes the hamburger menu, if I click it, it allows me to gain different menu options. I'll demonstrate that by going to the stroke palette. Now, stroke is another word for outline or line in Illustrator. So if I go to the window menu and click on stroke, you'll see that I've got a whole lot of options over here. However, by default, this is what you see. Clicking on this enables me to now change the weight of it, even though I could do that before, but it also allows me to say, have a dashed line. I can have a different arrowhead, and I can change the profile of this to that. So that's where some of the hidden things are in Illustrator. Hopefully this has been helpful, and I'll see you in the next video where I'll show you how to be able to cut objects out using a laser cutter.